that, thank you for joining me. We are going to start on how to be a legal observer, how to legally observe, stay safe, and what our responsibility is. But I do have a question. My first question of the day today is, why are we doing this? And we are hosting this training today as part of the work that is happening as a national shutdown. What is the connection? So the connection is that not everyone it has the ability to be out protesting. Not everyone has the ability to stay home from work, right? So we've got to make sure that we have tools for everyone in whatever shape or form they're able to participate. But we're also focusing on community protection, accountability. We're not going to tell anybody what to do, but we're giving everyone tools to stay safe, informed, empowered, but also in this moment, understanding that the government is using fear and force in our communities. And so people need knowledge. People need to know what can they do. And this is something that everyone can do. And it's not just about immigrants' rights. It is about civil rights. It is not just about what is happening to immigrants. It is about what is happening to the United States. It is about what is happening while we are losing democracy, because that's what it is. So that's where we step in with training, documentation, and collective care. All right, we're going to jump into our training. So how to legally observe ICE and the role of a legal observer. So enter your questions if you have any. We're sharing some screenshots on what a legal observer is. So the legal observer is your First Amendment right. It is a First Amendment right. It is a protected activity focused on documentation, not intervention. Okay, so our job is to bear witness. I also want to point that our job is to bear witness in a neutral way, to create an accurate factual record of what happens during an encounter with ICE, with Department of Homeland Security, or Customs Enforcement. So what observers should never give is legal advice. Only share the verified resources and evidence when appropriate. So the documentation protects communities. It supports accountability and preserves the evidence for attorneys, for the courts, and human rights organizations. So what that means is that when you record, don't manipulate the video. What we know has been and is effective is the documentation. When you have the proof of what is happening on the ground, the government and the courts cannot document facts. And this is the pressure that is helping us fight what is happening on the streets. It is helping us tell the truth and bear witness of what is happening. I'm going to go to the next slide. And I'm going to respond to questions as we move forward, because I see some of them coming in. So how to document? So to document, you film, you take photos from a safe distance and keep your hands visible. It is important to not obstruct, to not touch officers or physically intervene. So when recording, clearly state the date, time, location, and briefly describe what is happening. And I spoke earlier about being neutral. An example is if I have my camera and I am saying it is Friday, January 30th, it is 11:06 a.m. I am on the corner of the street. Facts only, because facts matter. So clearly state date, time, location, and briefly describe what is happening. So after the encounter that you've recorded, write down everything that you remember, such as possibly a badge number. As we know, they're wearing masks and no badge numbers, but maybe a patrol car number, maybe number of officers that were there, any statements that were made. You may be able to take a snapshot of a license plate. So again, documenting facts and not opinions or how we feel about what is happening is really important. Okay, I'm going to go to the next slide. I think we're a little bit stuck. Okay, so the other piece around, and we've seen this has worked in Los Angeles, this has worked in Minneapolis, this has worked in Minnesota, to form a crowd, and more than anything, to really always have somebody around, have a buddy system, to stay loud, to stay nonviolent when we talk about the whistles. So the whistles offers a nonverbal way to alert the community when ICE is present. They're not to be used as weapons, not used to provoke, to get in somebody's face and just whistle. It is really used to alert. They're used to alert others when there's enforcement action is occurring. It signals that you need witnesses, that something is happening with ICE. It also helps create visibility that can deter abuse. As we've seen, nothing's really deterring abuse, but if we continue to be visible, to be loud, to alert people. So the goal is presence, awareness, not confrontation. The goal is not to agitate officers, to agitate folks, or to intervene or impede what is happening. The goal is to create awareness. The goal is to document the presence of ICE and the tactics that they are using. So that's the goal. I'm going to move into the next slide. What to do with recordings. So if you have recorded, if you are present, if you are part of a rapid response system, if you are part of a group that is out witnessing this. So what we're asking is that you share the video with local rapid response networks. We're going to drop the links for the different networks that exist throughout the country. So the list can also be found on our website, womensmarchfoundation.org/stop ICE. You're able to find resources there to rapid response teams across the country, numbers. So some states offer official reporting portals. For example, California has one where community members can upload evidence of ICE encounters, including potential misconduct. So I mentioned California provides a live portal for submitting photos, videos, and other documentation. So that I can't stress this enough. All videos must remain unedited or unaltered in any way. And what that means is that the video, it's raw footage. No need to add emojis, no need to add anything, because it may be used in court proceedings. They may be used to present evidence of misconduct. So always when you record, make sure that once you're sharing it, do not edit the video. Make sure that it is a raw recording. The other piece around it is, someone asked earlier, what happens if they take our phone? I'm going to ask for you to, if you have your phone, to always have a passcode and not the facial recognition, because they need to enter the passcode in order for them to access your phone. So because it's a real concern. I'm going to move into the next slide. Always know the risks, what the risks are before you participate in things. Not everyone is cut out to be in the streets and recording, and that's okay. That's okay. So because there are risks. So the legal risk is in observing or filming. It can draw attention, and in some cases you may be questioned or detained or cited. U.S. citizens are not exempt, as we have seen what is happening across the country, as we have seen that Renee Good and Alex Petrie have lost their lives doing this type of work. So always, I'm going to say rest in peace, but always, always understand that there is a risk, that the current way in which ICE is working is lawless, and it is unconstitutional. So making sure that we understand that people have been arrested, even with proof of citizenship, they were arrested. Physical risks as well. Presence at tense situations carries a potential for injury or exposure to crowd conflict, but also privacy and security risks. Your personal information or footage could be seen or shared publicly. Just today, we learned from the Washington Post that ICE does have facial recognition software in some of their body cams and some of the things that they are using. One particular activist in Minnesota said that an ICE agent knew who she was before. She didn't know, she had never been arrested, but they knew that she had been at other protests. So understanding that there is a risk of that, and knowing what you're getting into, always being safe, recording, not agitating, but understanding how they are operating currently should inform all of us as to how we want to engage and how we're able to participate. All right, I'm going to move into the next slide. So different parts of knowing your rights, whether it's in the workplace, at home, or public spaces. And again, this is not anything, we're not legal experts, but what we do want to say is that we've gone through different trainings from the National Lawyers Guild to different networks around what is happening in the streets. So knowing your rights in the workplace is asking if ICE stops in, asking if the officer has a judicial warrant signed by a judge, because currently they are carrying two different warrants, one signed by themselves, ICE, but what you're asking for is a judicial warrant, especially if it's in the workplace. Do not consent to searches of work areas not open to the public. They come into office, do not consent. Make sure you inform your employer, whoever's in charge of that, to not consent. So remain calm, respectful. Do not obstruct. We cannot stress this enough. Do not obstruct or impede, but you are able to say you don't give consent. So you have a right to remain silent always. You don't have to answer any questions. So that's for workplace. And then for home. For home, you have a right to not open the door unless you see a judicial warrant. Unless a warrant is shown, ask the officers to slide the warrant under their door or hold it to a window. You are able to say you do not give consent to entry or searches. This is a Fourth Amendment. You have a right to do that. And you have a right to remain silent. Again, you have a right to remain silent in the Fifth Amendment. So when we talk about the amendment, it said we have to continue to talk through that you have a right to remain silent. You can say you do not consent to a search or entry, to make sure that you vocalize that. And then public spaces. You may ask if you are free to leave if you are detained. The reason a lot of these officers are going to public spaces and staging, what is called staging in parking lots, the Home Depots, the Targets, because those are considered public spaces. So the parking lot is considered a public space, and that's part of why they stage there. So if they ask you questions or ask if you're free to leave or if you're under arrest, if you're not under arrest, walk away calmly. You're able to leave. Do not agitate, but also do not consent to searches of your personal belongings. Do not consent to them searching your bags or anything like that. You have a right to remain silent as well. So that is knowing your rights as it pertains to workplace, home, public spaces. That's where we're at. Send questions my way, and we will try to answer them as we go along. All right, next slide. Stay connected. Stay connected. I am going to respond to some questions around what is happening, what folks are asking is about their privacy, and what we know currently is that ICE is currently using facial recognition software. So they said they're not keeping a list of activists, but plenty of activists across the country have said that sometimes when they show up to protest, what to witness, that some of the ICE officers already know who they are and their name. And this is not random. It's just part of fear tactics. The other piece that folks do not understand is what is happening to the detained. And so part of our understanding is that when folks are detained, they do keep a record, but not everyone knows how to access where these people have been detained. So again, that has to be part of the rapid response. So that will be on our website. The other piece that's important to mention is that most people think that that legal counsel will be provided for the detained. They have a right to access legal counsel, but they do not have a right to public appointed counsel. That's one of the misconceptions out there. Immigrants that are detained have a right to access attorneys at their own expense. And this is why we continue to ask folks to fund ACLU or CHIRLA or Carecen, any of these organizations that are providing legal representation for immigrants is what we should be doing. We should be funding these organizations so that they can continue to protect the folks that have been detained so that they can see their day in court. So I'm going to repeat because I have a few folks saying, yes, they do have a right to counsel. They have a right to access legal counsel. They do not have a right to a court-appointed attorney. There's a huge difference because it means that they bear the cost of this. And some folks do not know that. I have folks asking, where can they order whistles? We're going to drop links of where we can send whistles. We currently have about 500 orders. We're going to put them together, process them, and send them out. But also, you are able to go out, not today because it's a no shop. You're able to go out and get your own whistle. Go to our website, download how to use them, how to stay safe. We're going to have this training also uploaded onto the website so that you're able to see and share the training. My hope is that you share with other people what is happening. It is our responsibility as citizens to continue to bear witness, to continue to document what is happening, because it's not just about immigrants' rights. It is about losing civil rights. It is about also asking our government, which I know the budget hasn't been approved, asking our government to not budget the billions for ICE. And I know some folks are upset about everyone saying abolish ICE. We need it dismantled. As it is currently working, it does not work. When we have state violence on the streets of the United States sent out by the government, we do not need our taxpayer dollars going towards that. So it needs to be dismantled. That needs to start over. The current iteration of ICE is nothing but cruelty and the dismantling of democracy in the First Amendment. The Second Amendment, as we now know, the Fourth Amendment of entering into your house, and the Fifth Amendment of a right to remain silent. I'm probably missing a few other amendments. So making sure that we understand that it's not just about that. It is about democracy as a whole. And it is up to us to continue to document, bear witness, so that when the trials do happen, that we have done everything possible to bring justice to the United States, because that's what it's going to take. And I know that today the Department of Justice has started an investigation into the murder of Alex Pretty by ICE officers. So what we are doing is working, documenting, not interfering, not intervening, so that we are not gaslit into thinking that what we are doing is wrong. It is our First Amendment right. It is our right to document and bear witnesses to the state-sanctioned violence that is happening in the streets. I want to thank you for joining me. Send questions my way. Share this document. Reach out. I'm Emiliana Guereca, your host at the Rally Room. Order a whistle. Send questions our way. If you are joining a rally today, stay safe. If you are out there participating with rapid response teams, be safe, understand the risk, know your rights, and always, always stay safe, stay loud, stay active. We've got this.